My feet hit the hospital floor hard. Each step made a loud sound that hurt my ears. The building smelled like strong cleaning soap that made my nose burn. My heart was beating so fast and so loud. I felt it in my head, in my throat, everywhere. I'm 68 years old, but right then I felt like I was a million years old. My son Danny, my only boy. They called me and said he was very sick. He was in the hospital right now. That phone call came 35 minutes ago. Since then my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I held my bag tight against my chest. I was looking for his room number. They told me 418. Had to find it. The numbers on the doors were hard to see. 414, 416. I was getting close. Soon I could see him. Soon I could hug him. Soon I could tell him everything would be okay. That's what moms do. We make broken things better. We make hurt things heal. We give everything we have and don't ask for anything back. I gave so much to Danny. So much that sometimes I forgot who I was before I became his mom. But none of that mattered right now. All I wanted was to get to that room. To see my boy. To know what happened. The phone rang while I was cooking dinner. I dropped my spoon when I heard his wife Miranda on the phone. Her voice was cold like ice. Danny is in the hospital. Something bad happened. Come if you want to. Then she hung up. Just like that. She didn't tell me what happened. She didn't tell me if it was bad or not. She didn't tell me if Danny was awake. Just those mean words and that angry voice she always used with me. Like I was a bug. Like I was something bad in her perfect life with my son. But I didn't have time to think about that. For 17, I was almost there. My hands were shaking as I fixed my coat. I tried to breathe slowly. I had to be strong for Danny. I had to be the mom I always was. The mom who never gives up. The mom who is always there even when nobody sees her. Even when nobody says thank you. That's when it happened. Someone grabbed my arm. They pulled me to the side really hard. I almost screamed. But then another hand covered my mouth gently. A woman's voice whispered in my ear fast and scared. Hide and wait. Trust me. It was a nurse. I could tell from her clothes. She looked about 40 years old. Her face looked serious. Her dark eyes were shiny and looked worried. She pushed me toward a door that was open just a little. It was room 417. Right next to where Danny was. Don't make any noise. Don't come out. Watch and listen. You'll understand everything soon. Before I could say anything, before I could ask what was happening, she walked away fast. Her shoes made that tapping sound on the floor. I stayed there, not moving behind that door. My heart was beating even faster now. But it wasn't just because I was scared for Danny anymore. It was something else. Something dark and heavy that I couldn't understand yet. The room was empty and dark. It smelled like clean sheets and cold air from the machine in the wall. I leaned against the wall. I tried to think about what just happened. Why did that strange nurse hide me? Like I was in danger. Danger. Me. That was crazy. But something about her eyes made me stay. Something about how scared her voice sounded made me believe her. Trust me, she said. And I did. Maybe because I was so scared that I needed someone to help me. Maybe because for so many years nobody saw me. Nobody cared about me. And finally someone was helping me. Even though I didn't know why yet. My breathing got slower. My eyes got used to the dark. I could see the empty bed. I could see the metal pole with no bags on it. I could see the curtains that were closed. They only let in a tiny bit of light from the hallway. Less than 1 minute passed. 60 seconds that felt like forever. Then I heard them. Voices coming from outside. Miranda's voice. I knew it right away. She sounded sweet like candy. But I knew that voice. She used it when she wanted something. And another voice. Man. I didn't know him. They stopped right in front of room 418. Right across from where I was hiding. My whole body became stiff like a board. I stopped breathing without meaning to. Are you sure nobody will see us here? The man asked. Miranda laughed. It sounded like dry leaves blowing in the wind. The old lady is coming, but she takes forever. The people at the front desk are slow. We have lots of time. Old lady. She called me an old lady. I felt something squeeze my heart, like someone was holding it tight with their hands. But I made myself stay quiet. I made myself keep listening. Because something told me this was just the beginning. Good. Let's look at the papers again. We need to move the lake house into my name before he wakes up. If he asks anything, you tell him he signed everything before he got sick. Okay. The lake house. Lake house. The house I bought with the money my husband left me when he died. The house I put in Danny's name because I trusted him. 'Cause he was my son. Because I never thought something like this could happen. $165,000. All my safety. All my future. I gave it to him on a silver plate because a mom trusts. Because a mom gives without counting. Okay, Miranda said. And there was something in her voice that made my blood turn to ice. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't worry about her husband in the hospital right there. It was happiness. It was winning. It was the sound of someone who was getting what they wanted. And what about the shop? The $175,000 in the bank account. Can I take that too? $175,000. The money I gave Danny to start his car repair shop. The money he never gave back because he said, "Mom, it's for our future. You'll see. You'll get it back when the shop grows bigger." I promise. But the shop did grow bigger. More people came. More money came in. And I was still living in my tiny apartment. I was still buying the cheapest food at the store. I was still wearing the same old clothes from years ago. I was still turning off lights to save money on my electric bill. While they lived in that big house with a yard and a pool. While Miranda bought expensive purses that cost more than my rent for 3 whole months. While Danny got a new car every 2 years like getting new shoes. That's hard because your name isn't on the account, the man said. Then I knew what he was. Lawyer. He was a stupid lawyer. I could imagine him in his fancy suit. His expensive bag. His clean hands that never did real work. But if he doesn't wake up in the next few days, or if he wakes up but his brain doesn't work right, you can ask to be in charge of everything. Then you can have it all. The bank accounts, the houses, everything. If he doesn't wake up. Those words hung in the air like sharp knives. If he doesn't wake up. Like it was okay. Like it was even good. Like they were talking about the weather or what to eat for dinner. I put my hand over my mouth so I wouldn't scream. So I wouldn't throw up right there against that cold wall. My legs were shaking so much I had to hold onto the door. The wood was freezing cold under my fingers. This couldn't be real. Couldn't be happening. It was a nightmare. It had to be one of those bad dreams where you run but you don't move. Where you scream but no sound comes out. And her? Miranda asked. The way she said that word her made me feel like a bug. Like something to step on. That nosy old woman. Can she take anything from us? There was a quiet moment that felt like forever. The lawyer was checking something. Papers maybe. I heard them move. No. She can't take anything. I checked all the papers. Her name isn't on anything. Not the house. Not the shop. Not the bank accounts. Everything is in your husband's name. If you're the wife and he can't make choices, the rules say you get it all. She's nothing. She has no rights. She's just the mother-in-law. Someone watching from far away. I'm nothing. Have no rights. I'm just the mother-in-law. Someone watching from far away. Those words went through me like ice bullets. 68 years of living turned into that. 42 years married to a good man who died too fast from a heart attack nobody saw coming. 40 years raising a son I loved more than anything in the whole world. All of that just to hear I am nothing. That I have no right to what I built. To what I gave with these hands that were shaking so much now. Miranda laughed again. That pretty laugh I heard so many times at family dinners. When she asked me to clean the dishes while she sat with Danny watching TV. That laugh that came when I brought them gifts and she said thanks without looking at me. Without getting up from the couch. That laugh I thought was her being shy when Danny brought her home 8 years ago. How stupid I was. How blind. How dumb. Perfect. Then we do the first plan. I've been putting the crushed medicine in his coffee every morning like you told me. A little bit more each week. Just half a pill more. The doctors think it's because he works too hard. Because he's tired. Because he doesn't eat good food. Nobody thinks anything is wrong. Nothing at all. The world stopped completely. Like someone pressed pause on everything. The medicine. She was giving him medicine. To my son. To Danny. To my baby who grew in my belly. Who drank milk from me. Who slept in my arms every night for his first 3 years. My brain was trying to understand what I just heard. But it was too scary. Too impossible to believe. This didn't happen in real life. This happened in movies. In news stories from faraway places. In stories you read on the computer and think, how terrible. I'm glad that would never happen to me. But it was happening. It was happening right now. Just feet away from where I was hiding like a scared mouse. Here at the hospital, it's even easier. Miranda kept talking in that normal voice. Like she was talking about making cookies. Like she was sharing a trick for cleaning dirty spots. I can add things to his medicine bag when the nurses leave the room. I can do it because I'm the wife. Nobody asks me questions. Everyone feels sorry for me. They bring me coffee. They tell me to be strong. It's almost funny. In 3 or 4 more days it will all be done. His heart will just stop. It will look normal. It happens all the time to 44-year-old men who work too much and don't take care of themselves. The numbers say so. We're safe. 44 years old. My son was 44 years old. And his wife was planning to kill him like she was planning a vacation to the beach. I felt my legs stop working. I slid down the wall until I was sitting on the cold floor of that empty room. My hands covered my mouth so tight I could feel my own teeth on my lips. I couldn't cry. I couldn't make a sound. I couldn't show I was there. Listening to every word of that terrible conversation. Excellent, the lawyer said. I could hear him putting away papers. Getting ready to leave. I'll send you the final papers tonight to your email. Sign them on the computer and I'll take care of everything else. By Friday next week, everything will be yours. The house, the shop, the bank accounts, and about the other thing. About the hospital plan. I know nothing. We never talked. Clear. Crystal clear, Miranda said. You're so smart, Mark. I'll pay you really well when this is all over. Really, really well. Mark. The lawyer's name was Mark. I burned that name into my brain like writing it in stone. His footsteps walked away down the hall. That sound of expensive shoes on cheap floor. But Miranda stayed there. I could hear her breathing. I could feel her standing there on the other side of that thin wall. And then she talked. But this time nobody was with her. She was talking to herself. Or maybe talking to Danny who was sleeping in that bed. Poor stupid man, she whispered. Her voice was filled with poison so strong it hurt to hear it. You thought you won me with your cheap flowers and your empty promises. I never loved you. Not for one single day. But you had what I needed. A dumb mother with money. A shop that was making money. A house that was paid for. And enough stupidity to put everything in your name without protection. You were perfect. The perfect target. Every word was a hit. Every sentence was a knife right to the heart. Years. They were married 8 years. 8 years of lies. 8 years of acting. 8 years I believed my son was happy. All those times I didn't understand rushed into my head. All those signs I ignored. The times I visited and Miranda disappeared into the bedroom. The times Danny looked tired and pale but said it was work. The times I offered to help and he said no really fast. Like I was bothering him. Mom, I'm not a baby anymore. I can fix my own problems. But they weren't his problems. It was her. It was the poison he was drinking without knowing it every morning with his coffee. It was the monster sleeping next to him every night. Planning his death while he dreamed about a future that would never come. And you nosy old lady, Miranda went on. Even though she couldn't see me, she knew I existed. She knew I was in her way. As soon as this is over, I'll push you out of our lives forever. You won't have the right to even see his grave. 'Cause you're nothing. You're just the witch who never liked me. Who always looked at me like I was bad. who always tried to make Danny not like me. That wasn't true. I tried to like her. God knows I tried with everything I had. Because she was the woman my son picked. Because seeing him happy was all I wanted. I swallowed so many mean things she said to me. I smiled when she said bad things about my clothes, my hair, my cooking. I washed her dishes after dinners where I wasn't even given good food. Where I ate leftovers standing in the kitchen while they ate in the dining room. I bought expensive gifts for her birthdays, for Christmas, for every special day. Gifts she opened without smiling and left forgotten in corners. I took care of their house when they went on trips. Watering plants, getting mail, cleaning dust. I was the perfect mom and mother-in-law. The one who doesn't bother. The one who doesn't say what she thinks. The one who gives and gives and gives without asking for anything back. And this was how they paid me back. With poison. With stealing. With planned murder. I heard her footsteps finally move away. The sound of her shoes on the floor. That tapping sound that always seemed nice to me. Now it sounded like a clock ticking. Like a bomb. She was gone. She went into Danny's room and closed the door gently. And I stayed there. Sitting on the floor of that dark room. Shaking like a leaf in a storm. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been seconds or minutes or a whole lifetime. Time didn't make sense anymore. Nothing made sense anymore. My whole life. All my choices. All the things I gave up. Everything fell apart in less than 10 minutes. Like a house made of cards. Like something fake that disappears when you get too close. My hands were shaking so much I had to hug myself to not fall apart completely. Felt cold. A cold that came from inside. From some deep place I didn't know was there. My teeth were hitting together. My whole body shook with waves of fear that came from my stomach to my throat. Danny was dying. Not from an accident. Not from bad luck. He was being murdered. His own wife was poisoning him day after day. Drink after drink. And nobody knew. Nobody except that mystery nurse who hid me here. That woman who showed up like an angel. Like a sign from heaven. Just in time to save me from walking in there knowing nothing. To save me from meeting Miranda while she acted like the worried wife. To give me the information I needed. Even though I didn't know what to do with it yet. What was I supposed to do? Run out and yell. Call the police. Go in that room and scratch that woman's eyes out with my own hands. Every choice seemed impossible. Every path seemed to go to a darker place. 'Cause she was right about one thing. By the law I was nothing. Had no proof. I only heard a conversation. My word against hers. A crazy old woman against a young pretty wife crying over her sick husband. The door suddenly opened. I almost had a heart attack right there. It was her. The nurse. She came in fast. Closed the door behind her. Turned on a small lamp in the corner. The soft light let me see her well for the first time. Her face showed she was strong and meant business. Her eyes were bright but serious. Her hair was pulled back tight. Her badge said Maria Lopez, special nurse. She looked right at me and got down on her knees in front of me. She took my frozen hands in her warm ones. Breathe, she said in a voice that was firm but kind. Breathe deep. I know you're in shock. I know what you just heard is terrible. But I need you to calm down. I need you to think clearly. Because your son doesn't have much time. Her words were like a slap that woke me up. She was right. I couldn't fall apart. Not now. Later there would be time to cry. To scream. To think about all of this. But now I had to act. I had to save my son. I took a deep breath. Once. 3 times. The air came in rough. But it came in. My heart was still beating too fast. But at least it was beating. How did you know? I managed to ask. My voice sounded like a frog. How did you know that she? Maria let out a big breath. She sat on the floor next to me, leaning her back against the wall. I've been taking care of your son when he comes for checkups for 4 weeks. He came in every week with strange problems. Being really tired. Feeling dizzy. Feeling sick to his stomach. His heart beating weird. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong. They said it was stress from work. But I've seen these problems before. My brother died this way 5 years ago. His girlfriend poisoned him with rat poison for months. By the time we knew, it was too late. His insides were destroyed. Her voice broke when she said that last part. I could see the old pain shining in her eyes. She lost her brother. The same terrible way. And now she was trying to save my son. She was trying to stop another family from living her same nightmare. I started thinking something was wrong 2 weeks ago, she kept talking. The wife was always too calm, too in control. She never cried, never got upset. She only asked about the test results, about how long it would take him to get better, about the legal stuff if he couldn't make choices. Strange questions for someone who says they love their partner. Then I asked to see his old blood tests from a year ago, before the problems started. And I compared them with the new ones. There's a huge difference. His levels of some things are completely changed. In a way that's not natural. In a way that only happens when someone is being poisoned on purpose and for a long time. Maria took out her phone. She showed me a bunch of numbers and graphs I didn't really understand. But they look scary. Red lines going up and down like roller coasters. Numbers with big exclamation points next to them. I talked to Dr. Patterson, the head doctor who knows about poisons. He's the only one I trust here. I showed him what I was thinking. He agreed to look into it quietly. But we needed better proof. We needed to catch her doing it. She showed me her phone again. But this time it wasn't graphs. It was a recording app. She was recording. She recorded the whole conversation between Miranda and the lawyer. Every word. Every confession. Every terrible detail of their plan. I knew you would come today. Miranda told the other nurses this morning. She was annoyed because she'd have to deal with the annoying mother-in-law. So I waited in the hallway. I saw you running. So scared. And I knew I had to protect you. I had to stop you from going in there without knowing. And I had to make her confess. And she did. She told everything. Tears started rolling down my cheeks. I couldn't stop them. Tears of relief mixed with terror, mixed with so much thanks to this woman I didn't know. This woman who decided to risk her job, maybe her whole career, to save my son, to give me a chance to fight. Thank you, I whispered. My voice broke into 1,000 pieces. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. She squeezed my hands tight. Don't thank me yet. This is just the beginning. Now we have to act fast and smart. Dr. Patterson is checking your son's medicine bag right now. If he finds proof that someone messed with it, we call the police right away. But we need more. We need to find the pills she's using. We need real evidence. Where would she keep them? Yes. Trying to think clearly even though my head was full of chaos. Probably in her purse or in the car. Women like her are too confident. They feel like they can't be caught. They don't think anyone could find out. Maria stood up. She helped me stand up too. My legs were still shaking. But they held me up. Listen to me carefully, she said, looking me right in the eyes with a strength that made me feel like anything was possible. That we could win this. You're going to leave here and act like you know nothing. You're going to go to your son's room. You're going to hug that woman if you have to. You're going to cry. You're going to play the part of the scared mother. Which is what she expects to see. While you do that, I'm going to talk to hospital security. I'm going to ask them to check the hallway cameras. I'm going to write down every time she goes in that room alone. And I'm going to make sure she doesn't go near that medicine bag again. He nodded, trying to remember all the instructions. Pretend. Become what she expected me to be. A silly, scared old woman. Could do that. I had been doing that for years without even knowing it. And one more thing, Maria added in a quiet voice. Don't tell your son anything yet. If he wakes up, if he can talk, don't tell him what you know. He might not believe you. He might think you're making things up. That you're jealous. That you're lying. Men in love are blind. And she's had 8 years to poison him. Not just with pills. But also with lies about you. Those words hurt more than I expected. Because I knew they were true. Danny had changed with me in the last few years. He became far away. Annoyed when I was around. How many times did he cancel lunch with me? How many times did he forget my birthday? How many times did he tell me he was too busy to visit me? And I always thought it was work, that it was stress, that it was part of growing up and having your own family. I never imagined it was her, whispering poison in his ear every night. He thinks it's his fault he's sick, from working too hard. She's built that story perfectly. If you show up now saying she tried to murder him, he'll defend her. And we'll lose our chance to save him. She was right. Everything in me wanted to run into that room and shout the truth to my son. Shake him until he woke up and saw the snake he had next to him. But I couldn't. Had to be smart. I had to play the game. Least for now. I wiped the tears with the back of my hand. Fixed my coat. I took one last deep breath. Okay, I said. My voice sounded stronger than I felt. I'm going to do it. I'm going to pretend. But promise me something. Promise me we won't let her win. Promise me my son will live. Promise me that woman will pay for every drop of poison she gave him. For every lie she told. For every second of pain she caused. Maria looked at me with a fierce look that reminded me why I trusted her from the very first moment. I promise you, that woman will not only lose everything she planned to steal. She'll spend the rest of her life in prison. I'll make sure of it myself. She opened the door carefully, looking out first to make sure nobody was there. She gave me a tiny nod. And I left that room that had been my hiding place and my hell for the last few minutes. The hallway was more crowded now. There were more nurses, more doctors, more families waiting for news about their loved ones, all caught up in their own problems, not knowing that a story bigger than any TV show was happening right there. I walked toward door 418. My steps didn't feel like my own. It was like I was floating, like my body was moving by itself while my mind was still trapped in that horrible conversation I heard. My hand touched the cold metal of the door. I took one last deep breath and went in. The room was bigger than I thought. There were machines everywhere, monitors beeping softly, medicine bags hanging like frozen tears. And in the middle of it all, in that white bed, was my son, my Danny. He looked so small there, so weak, connected to 1,000 wires and tubes. His skin looked gray. Scared me. His lips were dry. He had deep dark circles under his eyes I'd never seen before. This wasn't the strong man who helped me carry my groceries just 3 months ago. This wasn't the boy who learned to ride his bike in the park, shouting, "Look, Mom!" No hands. While I ran behind him, scared he would fall. This was someone eaten up. Someone destroyed from the inside. And next to his bed, holding his hand so gently, was her. Miranda looked perfect like always. Her blonde hair perfectly done. Her makeup light but pretty. Her white dress that probably cost more than my rent. Her blue eyes that I thought were beautiful. Now I saw them as snake eyes. When she saw me come in, her face changed right away. Her eyes filled with tears. Her mouth shook. She put her hand on her chest like she was holding back crying. "Helen," she said in a broken voice. She even stood up to hug me. I forced myself to accept that hug. To put my arms around her. To feel her warm body against mine. And not think that this same body had coldly planned my son's death. Her expensive perfume filled my nose. Smelled like flowers and lies. "Thank you for coming," she whispered against my shoulder. "I know you had to take 3 buses. I know it's far for you. But I needed you here. Danny needs you." Liar. Terrible liar. She didn't need me here. She called me only to look good. So nobody would think it was strange when he died. That she kept his mother away. I pulled away from her gently, wiping the tears that were completely real, even if she thought they were for the wrong reasons. "What happened?" I asked. My voice sounded exactly like it should. Scared. Confused. Desperate. Miranda sighed like she was in a play. She sat back down next to the bed, going back to her role as the loving wife. He was at the shop. His workers said he suddenly turned very pale. He started sweating. He said his chest hurt and he couldn't breathe well. They thought it was a heart attack. They called an ambulance right away. He stopped, wiping a tear that was probably as fake as everything about her. The doctors say his heart is very weak, that he's been under too much stress, that he hasn't taken care of himself. I've told him 1,000 times to slow down. That money isn't worth more than his health. But you know how he is. Stubborn like a rock. Just like when he was little, I guess. That comment was like a hook. She was trying to connect with me, to make me feel like we were a team. That we both loved this man and wanted the best for him. What a perfect actress. What a believable monster. What are the doctors saying? Yes. Moving closer to the bed. Taking Danny's other hand. It was cold. Too cold. His fingers didn't move when I touched them. What should we expect? That the next 2 days are really important. That if he wakes up and there's no brain damage, he can get better with time and treatment. If he wakes up. Those words again. But this time coming out of her mouth with fake sadness that made my stomach turn. But they also said, she continued. Now her voice got lower. More private. Like sharing a secret with me. That there's a chance he won't wake up. Or that he'll wake up but won't be the same. Brain damage, they call it. That he might not be able to work again. That he might need someone to take care of him forever. She was getting me ready. She was making the ground ready for when he died. So I would already think it was possible. That it was something the doctors warned about. So when it happened, nobody would ask questions. I bit my lips so hard I tasted blood in my mouth. But I couldn't explode. I couldn't show what I knew. I had to keep acting. It can't be, I whispered, letting my voice really break. He's so young. He has his whole life ahead of him. So much left to do. Miranda nodded seriously, wiping another fake tear. I know. That's why I've been praying without stopping. That's why I asked Pastor Mike to come tomorrow to give him a blessing. Just in case. Just in case. Just in case he died like she planned. Just in case the poison finally did its job. Just in case nobody noticed in time. But someone did notice. Maria noticed. And now I knew too. And we weren't going to let this happen. Can I stay for a moment alone with him? Yes. Hoping she would say yes. I needed a break from her poison presence. I needed to breathe without her perfume choking me. Miranda hesitated. I saw a shadow of worry cross her face for barely a second. Then she put the mask of the nice daughter-in-law back on. Of course. I'm going to go get some coffee. Do you want anything? Some hot tea maybe. I shook my head. I just want to talk to my son. She nodded and left the room with fancy steps, closing the door softly behind her. As soon as she was out, I fell onto the bed, hugging Danny with all the care in the world, so I wouldn't disconnect any wires. Forgive me, I whispered against his hair that smelled like hospital and sickness. Forgive me for not seeing sooner. Forgive me for not protecting you. But I promise on everything I love that I'm not going to let her win. I'm going to get you through this, my love. I'm going to save you. Even if it's the last thing I do in this life. I kissed his forehead with all my love, feeling the cold, sweaty skin under my lips. His eyelids moved a little. Like somewhere deep in his sleep he could hear me. Like a part of him knew his mother was there, fighting for him, like she always had. I dried my tears and sat up just as the door opened again. But it wasn't Miranda. It was Maria pushing a cart with medicines. She gave me a tiny nod that I almost didn't see. There was news. Mrs. Helen, she said in a work voice, playing her part perfectly. Could you come with me for a moment? Dr. Patterson wants to talk with you about your son's condition. It will only take a few minutes. I nodded and followed her out of the room. We walked down the hallway to a small empty room where doctors talk to families. As soon as she closed the door, her face changed completely. She was no longer the kind professional nurse. She was a warrior with important information. We found it, she said right away. Dr. Patterson checked the medicine bag. He found traces of digoxin. It's a really powerful heart medicine. In controlled amounts, it's used to help hearts. But in the amounts we found, it's meant to make the heart stop. The room spun around me. Digoxin. Heart medicine. Making the heart stop. My son was being killed slowly from the inside. And nobody saw it until now. It was not given to him by doctors, Maria continued. Her voice was tight. Someone added it to the medicine bag. After it was made ready. And there's more. We checked the security cameras from the last day. There are 4 times when Miranda goes into the room alone. When there's no nurse close by. In 3 of those times you can clearly see her touching the medicine bag. We have video proof. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. We had proof. Real proof. Not just the sound recording. But also real evidence and video. Did you call the police yet? Yes. My voice was choked. Maria shook her head. Dr. Patterson is doing that right now. But there's a problem. Miranda has rights as his wife. If she thinks anything is wrong, she can leave before the police get here. She can destroy evidence. She can call her lawyer and get ready to fight back. We need to keep her here without her knowing anything until the officers come. How long? Yes. 20 minutes. Maybe half an hour at most. The closest police station is 10 minutes away. But they have to get ready. They need to come with special detectives. You have to go back in there and act like nothing happened. Keep her busy. Keep her talking. Do whatever you need to do. 20 minutes. Half an hour. Forever when you're acting in front of someone who planned to kill your son. But I could do it. Had to do it. There's something else, Maria said. She took out her phone again. While checking the cameras, we found this. It's from 4 days ago. She showed me a video in black and white. It was Miranda in the hospital parking lot. Talking on the phone. There was no sound. But I could see how she looked. She was relaxed. Almost happy. She was smiling. At one point she even laughed. A woman whose husband is really sick doesn't laugh like that in the hospital parking lot, Maria said. She sounded disgusted. We asked the computer people to try to read her lips or get sound from around her. But it's hard. However, there's one moment when she looks right at a camera nearby. She doesn't know it's there. And you can clearly read what she says. She paused the video at that exact moment. She made it bigger. Miranda was saying something. Even though there was no sound, it was perfectly clear on her lips. Soon I'll be rich and free. Soon I'll be rich and free. 4 words that proved everything. That showed this wasn't worried love, but cold planning. This will also be given to the police, Maria said, putting away the phone. It's more proof. More evidence that this was planned ahead of time. Thought out. Done while knowing exactly what she was doing. He nodded, feeling something inside me get hard like steel. I was no longer just the scared mother. I was no longer the silly old woman who had been tricked for years. I was someone new. Someone stronger. Someone willing to do whatever I had to do to protect her son. I'm going back, I said, with a strength that surprised even me. I'm going to keep her there. And when the police come, I want to be there. I want to see her face when she knows she lost. That her whole show was for nothing. That the stupid old woman wasn't so stupid after all. Maria smiled for the first time since all this started. You're stronger than you think, Helen. Your son is lucky to have you. Those words filled me with something I hadn't felt in a long time. Pride, purpose, power. I went back to the room with careful steps. Controlling my breathing. Getting ready for my final show. Miranda had already come back. She was sitting in the same spot. Holding Danny's hand. Looking at him with that fake look of worry that I could now clearly see for what it was. Everything okay? She asked when I came in. What did the doctor want? Just to check some papers, I lied. The lie came out so easily. Office things. Nothing important. I sat in the chair on the other side of the bed. I looked right at her. It was time to play my most important part. Miranda, I need to tell you something. She looked up. Her face looked careful. Worried. What is it? I've been unfair to you. The words came out of my mouth like sweet poison. All these years I've been cold, far away. I know you felt it. I know you tried to get close to me and I pushed you away again and again. I saw her eyes get big with real surprise. This wasn't what she expected. That's not true, she started to say. But I stopped her. Yes, it is. And I want to say I'm sorry. 'Cause now, seeing my son like this, I know that life is too short. Too short for stupid fights. Too short for silly pride. I leaned forward, taking her free hand in mine. She got stiff a little, but didn't pull away. You're the woman my son chose. The woman who makes him happy. And I should have been happy about that, instead of being jealous. Because that's what it was, jealousy. Fear of losing him. Fear of not being the most important woman in his life anymore. Every word was a perfect lie. Every sentence was a trap. And she was falling for it. I could see it in how her eyes got softer. In how her body relaxed. Helen, Let me finish, please, I said, squeezing her hand. If Danny lives through this, and he has to live, I want to start over with you. I want to be the mother-in-law you deserve. The grandma your future children will need. Because you're going to have children, right? You talked about that. I saw something flash in her eyes. Uncomfortable feelings. Maybe guilt. Or just being annoyed that she had to keep acting when she thought she already won. Yes, she finally said. We talked about it. After the shop got more stable. After we saved more money. More lies. There were never plans for children. Only plans for being a young widow and easy money. Well, when he gets out of here, I'm going to help you. Have some money saved up. It's not much, but it's something. Maybe I can help you with money for a bigger house. One with a yard for the kids. It would be my gift to you. For the family you're going to build. I saw her eyes shine for a second. Pure hard greed. Even now. Even in the middle of her master plan. The idea of more money excited her. You don't have to do that, Helen, she said softly. But her eyes said the opposite. Her eyes were screaming. Give me more. Give me everything. I want to. It's the smallest thing I can do after all these years of being far away. Besides, I have nobody else. When I die, everything I have will be Danny's anyway. And then yours too. Better to enjoy it together while I'm alive. Now I was selling myself out completely. I was painting myself as the silly old woman with money that she always believed I was. And it worked. I could see how she relaxed more and more. How the worry left her shoulders. She believed she had finally broken me. That she finally won my trust. You're so generous, she said. She even squeezed my hand with what I guess was supposed to look like love. Danny is very lucky to have you as a mother. I had to bite my tongue not to spit the truth at her right there. We kept talking about little things. Made up memories. Future plans that would never exist. I played my role as the sorry mother-in-law. She played hers as the forgiving daughter-in-law. Two actresses on a small stage. Waiting for the curtain to fall. I looked at the clock without her seeing. 15 minutes had passed. 5 more. Just 5 more minutes and the police would be here. Just 5 more minutes and all this theater would end. You know what I would like? I said suddenly, like it just came to my mind. I would like it if when Danny wakes up, the first thing he sees is the two most important women in his life holding hands. United together for him. Miranda smiled. It was a smile so sweet. Oh fake. So perfectly practiced. I would love that, Helen. I would love that. But then something changed in her face. A shadow crossed it. She got stiff. She let go of my hand. What is that noise? She asked, turning her head toward the door. I heard it too then. Voices in the hallway. Many voices. Fast footsteps. The sound you can't mistake of people rushing. And then the door burst open. 4 people came in. 2 police officers in uniforms. A woman in a suit who was clearly a detective. And behind them, Maria and Dr. Patterson. Miranda jumped to her feet. Her eyes wide. What's going on? She asked. For the first time since I knew her, her voice sounded really scared. The detective stepped forward, showing her badge. Miranda Chen, I'm Detective Sarah Mills. I need you to come with us to answer some questions about your husband's condition. Questions? What kind of questions? My husband is sick. He collapsed. What does that have to do with the police? Her voice got higher, sharper, more desperate. The mask was starting to crack. We found evidence that Mr. Danny Chan has been the victim of intentional and sustained poisoning. Tests showed dangerous levels of digoxin in his system, a substance that was not given to him by doctors, that was deliberately added to his hospital treatment. The quiet that followed was so loud it hurt. Miranda stayed completely still, her mouth a little bit open, her eyes jumping from the detective to the officers to Maria, thinking, looking for a way out. That's crazy, she finally said. Her voice was now pure ice. The sweetness was completely gone. It's a mistake. A medical mistake. Someone mixed up the medicines. That happens all the time in hospitals. It's not a mistake, Dr. Patterson said, stepping forward. We have security camera video that shows you touching your husband's medicine bag on 3 different times. We have physical evidence of the substance found. And we have this. Maria took out her phone. She played the recording. Miranda's voice filled the room, clear as water. I've been putting the crushed medicine in his coffee every morning. A little more each week. The doctors think it's stress from work. Nobody thinks anything is wrong. Here at the hospital it's easier. I can add things to the medicine bag. In 3 or 4 more days, it will all be done. I watched as all the color left her face completely, as her legs shook, as she desperately searched for something to say, some excuse, some lie that could save her. But there was nothing. They caught her completely. That recording was taken wrong, she tried. But her voice had no strength. I never. That's not what it sounds like. We also have your conversation with your lawyer, Mark Chen, who by the way is being questioned right now, Detective Sarah continued. Her voice was firm and professional. We have papers showing you tried to move property to your name through lies. We have your computer history showing searches for poisons that can't be detected and poisoning symptoms. We have enough evidence to charge you with attempted murder that was planned ahead of time and stealing through lies. Miranda looked at me then. Her blue eyes, once so beautiful, now filled with pure hate. It was you, she hissed like a snake. You did this. Nosy old woman. Old witch. You couldn't just keep quiet and let things happen. You had to stick your nose where it didn't belong. I stood up slowly, walking toward her with a calm I didn't know I had. I stood in front of her, looking her right in the eyes. I'm his mother, I said in a quiet voice but full of power. And a mother always protects her children. Always. You thought you could trick me. You thought I was a stupid old woman with money. You thought you could steal everything from me, kill my son, and get away with it. But you were wrong. You were very wrong. Miranda Chen, one of the officers said, taking out handcuffs. You're under arrest for attempted murder in the 1st degree. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to a lawyer. If you can't pay for one, one will be given to you. The handcuffs made that sound like metal clicking as they closed around her wrists. She fought at first, yelling that it was a mistake, that she was being accused unfairly, that her lawyer would sue them all. But the officers were professional. They held her firmly. They started to lead her out of the room. Just before going through the door, she turned to look at me one last time. You think you won, she spit out, venom in every word. But he'll never believe you. When he wakes up, I'm going to tell him you made everything up. That you're jealous. That you're crazy. And he's going to believe me. He always believes me. Smiled. Not with joy, but with the satisfaction of someone who knows she has the last card. It doesn't matter what he believes anymore. Justice doesn't depend on his opinion. Depends on the evidence. And the evidence says you're guilty. They took her out then. Her screams going down the hallway until they got quiet and far away. I stood there, shaking from head to toe. feeling all the energy that had kept me standing for the last hour finally leave me. My legs gave out. Maria ran to hold me up, helping me sit down before I fell. "It's over," she whispered, hugging me. "It's over. You did amazing. You saved your son." But I couldn't celebrate yet, because Danny was still sleeping in that bed. Danny was still full of poison. Danny was still fighting for his life. "Doctor," I said, my voice shaky, looking at Patterson. "My son. Is he going to be okay? Were you able to?" "We started the treatment to clean out the poison as soon as we knew for sure about the digoxin," he explained. His voice was reassuring. "High doses of special medicine to fight the heart medicine. New blood to replace the bad blood. His body is young and strong. He has very good chances of a full recovery." Very good chances. It wasn't a promise. But it was hope. And hope was more than I had just 2 hours ago. I walked to my son's bed. I took his hand again, squeezing it tight. "Fight, my love," I whispered. "Fight for your life. Your mom already did her part. Now it's up to you." The next 3 days were the longest of my life. I didn't leave the hospital. Couldn't. Maria got me a special pass to stay in Danny's room all day and all night. She brought me coffee, sandwiches that I could barely taste, blankets when I got cold in the early morning. She had become more than a nurse. She was my guardian angel, my savior, the sister I never had. Dr. Patterson came every few hours to check Danny's vital signs, to change medicines, to patiently explain every small change in his condition to me. "His levels are getting better," he would tell me, showing me graphs I barely understood. But it sounded like music from heaven. "The treatment is working. His body is responding. It's just a matter of time." That word had become my prayer. Every minute that passed was a minute further from the poison. Every hour was a small victory against the death that Miranda had planned so coldly. I sat next to his bed, talked to him. I told him stories from when he was a child. About the time he got lost at the store and I found him crying in the toy section. About his first day of school when he held onto my leg and wouldn't let go. About all the Christmases, the birthdays, the small moments that build a life. "You have to wake up," I told him over and over. "You have to wake up because there's still so much to live for. So much you haven't done. You can't leave like this. You can't leave me like this." Sometimes his eyelids moved. Sometimes his fingers moved a little. And I held onto those signs like a person drowning holds onto a piece of wood. Detective Sarah came to see me on the 3rd day. She brought really good coffee. Not the watery kind from the hospital machine. She sat with me in that quiet room. "I wanted to tell you what's happening with the case," she said. Her voice was professional but kind. "Miranda is being held with no chance to leave jail. The charges are serious. Attempted murder. Stealing through lies. Messing with evidence. Her lawyer, Mark Chen, is helping us in exchange for less punishment. He's told us about the entire plan. The property moves they were getting ready. The fake papers. Everything." He nodded, feeling a dark satisfaction I didn't know I could feel. "How much time will she be in prison?" "If we win on all the charges, we're talking about between 28 and 35 years at least. And with the evidence we have, it's almost impossible for her to be found not guilty. 28 to 35 years. Whole lifetime. Enough time for her beauty to fade away behind bars. Enough time for her to pay for every drop of poison she gave my son." "There's something else you should know," Sarah continued, pulling a folder from her bag. "We looked into her past. Miranda isn't her real name. Her name is Lisa Wu. She has a record in 3 different states for stealing and scams. She marries men with money, tricks them into giving her their things, then disappears. Your son was not her first victim. He was the 5th. I felt like someone punched me in the stomach. 5th. Danny was her 5th victim. The others. I couldn't finish the question. Sarah shook her head. The other 4 survived. But they lost everything. Houses, businesses, savings. Two of them tried to report her. But she'd been so careful with the papers they couldn't prove anything. They went bankrupt. She changed her name, changed how she looked, and started over with your son. She finally made a mistake. She was too greedy, too impatient, and because of that we caught her. He showed me photos. Miranda with different hair color, Miranda with a different style, but the same cold eyes, the same calculating smile. These men want to tell their stories in court, Sarah said. They want to help build a pattern that will make it impossible for her to say this was a mistake or an accident. She's a professional hunter of people. And she's finally going to pay for everything. I looked at my son sleeping in that bed. I felt a wave of thanks mixed with anger. Thanks because I saved him in time. Anger because I was so close to losing him. So close to her winning. Thank you, I told Sarah. Thank you for taking this seriously. For investigating. For not letting her get away with it. She squeezed my hand. It's my job. But more than that, it's my duty. Women like her can't keep destroying lives. Your bravery in acting fast. In trusting Maria. In staying calm. That's what truly saved your son. You're a hero, Helen. Hero. I didn't feel like a hero. I felt like a tired mother who did the only thing she knew how to do. Protect her son. That was all. On the fourth day, just as the sun started to come through the room window, filling it with warm golden light, it happened. Danny's fingers moved. It wasn't a sleeping movement. It was on purpose. He squeezed my hand. I yelled for the nurses without letting go of his hand. Maria came running, followed by another nurse. Then Dr. Patterson. He's waking up, the doctor said, checking his eyes with a small light. Danny, if you can hear me, squeeze your mother's hand again. And he did. He squeezed my hand harder this time. Tears rolled down my cheeks. I couldn't stop them. My love, I whispered over and over. You're here. You're alive. You're okay. His eyelids started to move slowly, like they were so heavy. They opened. His eyes, those brown eyes I'd seen since the day he was born, looked at me, confused at first. But then they focused. He recognized me. Mom, he whispered. His voice was rough, barely there. That one word broke all the walls I'd built. I fell onto the bed, crying against his chest, feeling his hand weakly rise to touch my hair. I'm here, I said between sobs. I'm here, my love. You're safe. Everything is going to be okay. Dr. Patterson gave us a few minutes before starting to check him. He checked his reflexes, his vision, his thinking ability. He asked simple questions. Birthday. Where he lived. Danny answered everything right, even though it was slow, searching for the words. There's no brain damage that we can see, the doctor finally said with a smile. It's a miracle considering the amount of poison in his system. But he's young, strong. And the treatment came just in time. Just in time. Thanks to Maria. Thanks to that extraordinary nurse who trusted her gut feeling. Who saw what nobody else saw. Danny looked around the room. Confused. What happened? He asked. Why am I here? The last thing I remember is being at the shop and feeling sick. Then nothing. And then nothing. I sat in the chair next to his bed, taking his hand in mine. This was the moment I'd been scared of. The moment to tell him the truth. The truth about the woman he married. The woman who slept next to him for 8 years while planning his death. Danny, there's something you need to know, I began. My voice was soft but firm. Something terrible. But I need you to listen to me until the end. Can you do that? He nodded. Even though I could see fear growing in his eyes. Fear of what he was about to hear. Fear of a truth he probably already knew somewhere deep in his mind. I told him everything. From the moment I ran to the hospital until Maria hid me. I told him about the conversation I heard. About Miranda and the lawyer. About the poison in his coffee. About the digoxin in his medicine bag. About the 8 years of lies. About the other 4 victims. about the plan to take everything and leave him to die like it was just another accident. I watched as his face went through every feeling possible, not believing at first. No. Anger. And finally a sadness so deep it broke my heart to see it. It can't be, he whispered when I finished. Miranda. Well, she loves me. She's always been there for me. She took care of me when I was tired. She made my coffee every morning. He stopped. He heard his own words. The coffee every morning. Exactly like she confessed in the recording. Do you want to hear the recording? I asked softly. Nurse Maria recorded everything. Her complete confession. He shook his head hard. No, I don't want to. I can't. He cried then. My grown son. My strong man. Cried like I hadn't seen him cry since he was a little boy. He cried for the betrayal. For the lost years. For the love he believed was real and never existed. I climbed onto the bed carefully. I hugged him like I'd done 1,000 times when he was little. When he fell off his bike. When a kid was mean to him at school. When his first girlfriend broke his heart. I'd always been there to pick up the pieces. And here I was again. I'm sorry, I said. Even though I wasn't the one who should say sorry. I'm sorry you had to go through this. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I was so blind. It wasn't your fault, he said against my shoulder. I didn't see anything either. I lived with her. I slept next to her. I told her my dreams, my fears, my plans. And the whole time. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. I loved her, Mom, he continued after a while. Or at least I loved the person I thought she was. How could I have been so stupid? How did I not see the signs? Because that's how people like her work, I said softly. They're experts at tricking people. At making you believe exactly what they want you to believe. You weren't stupid. You were human. You trusted because that's what good people do. They trust. We stayed like that for a long time. Mother and son. Survivors of a storm that almost destroyed both of us. Mom, he finally said, pulling back a little to look me in the eyes. She said things about you, didn't she? All these years. She said things that made me pull away from you. I nodded slowly. I didn't want to put more weight on him. But I needed the truth between us. Yes, think so. You started to change with me about 4 years ago. More distant. Colder. Like I bothered you. He closed his eyes in shame. She told me you were controlling. That you wanted to separate us. That you said bad things about her behind her back. That you gave her expensive gifts just to make her feel bad. To show she couldn't buy those nice things. Every time I said I wanted to visit you, she would cry. She would say you made her feel small. That you would never accept her. And I believed her. God, I was such an idiot. No, I said firmly. You weren't an idiot. You loved your wife and you wanted to protect her. That makes you a good person. Not an idiot. She twisted that love. She used it as a weapon against you. Against us. I treated you so badly, Mom. I canceled lunches. I forgot your birthday. I made you feel like you weren't welcome in my own house. In the house you bought with your money. Oh my God. His voice broke again. How can you even look at me now? How can you be here after everything I put you through? I took his face in both hands. Made him look at me. Because you're my son. Because I love you more than my own life. Because a mother doesn't abandon. No matter how much it hurts. No matter how many times she's pushed away. She will always, always be there when her son needs her. He cried again. And I cried with him. For the lost years. For the words not spoken. For all the times I wanted to call him and didn't because I knew it would annoy him. For all the nights I went to bed wondering what I did wrong. For all the pain we didn't need to carry. Detective Sarah came later that day to take Danny's statement. It was hard. He had to remember details he'd rather forget. The mornings he woke up feeling weak. The times Miranda told him to take his vitamins. To drink her special coffee. The nights she told him he looked tired. That he was working too hard. that he needed more rest. Everything was part of the plan. Every caring gesture was really another step toward his death. "There's something you need to know," Sarah said when she finished writing notes. "The lake house that's in your name. The one your mother bought. Miranda had started the process to move it to her name. But we stopped it in time. The property is still yours. We also froze all the bank accounts and blocked any access she had. Your money is safe." Danny looked at me with total horror on his face. "Mom, your money. Dad's life insurance. The $165,000. I almost lost everything." "But you didn't lose it," I said firmly. "We saved it. Both of us saved it." "And about the shop," Sarah continued. "The $175,000 your mother invested. Plus the money it made. Everything is protected. Miranda had no legal rights to any of it. Because even though it was in accounts with your name, you never made her the official person to get it if something happened to you. It was an oversight on your part. But that oversight saved you from losing everything." An oversight. Or maybe deep down Danny always knew something wasn't right. Maybe a part of him never completely trusted her. "We'll need you to tell your story in court," the detective said. "I know it's hard. But your words are very important. You're the direct victim. Your story carries weight." Danny nodded, even though he looked pale. "I'll do it. I want her to pay. I want her to pay for everything." The following days were slow but steady recovery. Danny got better every day. Color came back to his face. Strength came back to his muscles. The doctors were amazed at how fast he healed once the poison was gone from his body. Maria came to visit him every time she worked. They became friends. In that strange bond that forms between people who go through something scary together. "I owe you my life," Danny told her every time. "You and my mother." "I was just doing my job," she always said modestly. But we both knew she did much more than that. She risked her career. She trusted her gut when everyone else ignored it. She was brave when it would have been easier to stay quiet. 2 weeks after waking up, Danny was finally strong enough to sit in a chair by the window. He looked out at the city that kept moving, not knowing about the drama that happened in this room. "Mom," he said without turning to look at me. "When I get out of here, I want to make things right. I want to give you back your money. Every single penny. With extra money on top." "You don't need to," I started. But he raised his hand. "Yes, I do need to. I need to make it right. I need to show you I'm not that man who ignored you for 4 years. I'm not that son who forgot where he came from. I need to show myself too." I walked over, sat in the chair next to him. "You don't have to show me anything. You already did. You survived. We're here. That's all I need." "But I need more," he said strongly, finally turning to look at me. "I need to get myself back. The man I was before her. The son you were proud to raise. Will you help me find him again?" I took his hand, squeezed it hard. "Always, my love. Always." The trial was 8 months later. 8 months where Danny recovered completely. Where he closed wounds he thought would never heal. Where he learned to trust again. Starting by trusting himself. 8 months where our relationship was rebuilt from the ground up. Stronger than before. More honest than ever. We walked into that courthouse together. Arm in arm. Him in a navy suit that made him look like the successful man he was. Me in a burgundy dress I bought specially for this day. Not because I was vain, but because I wanted to look strong. I wanted her to see she hadn't been able to destroy me. Miranda was sitting at the defense table. She looked different. Her hair had lost its shine. Her skin looked pale under the fake court lights. But her eyes were still the same. Cold. Calculating. When she saw us walk in, something dark crossed her face. Pure hate. There were no more masks. No more shows. This was the real Lisa Wu. The hunter hiding behind the fake name of Miranda. The prosecutor presented the evidence one by one. The sound recordings where she confessed everything. The security videos showing her touching the medicine bag. The poison analyses. The stories of the other 4 men she'd scammed before. Every piece of evidence was another nail in her legal coffin. Maria told her story about how she noticed the symptoms, about her suspicions, about the investigation she did, risking her job. Dr. Patterson explained in exact medical words how the digoxin had been destroying Danny's body from the inside. How without help, he would have died in a matter of days. Detective Sarah presented all the evidence of the stealing, the fake papers, Lisa's criminal history under her multiple fake names. It was devastating. One by one, the supports of her defense fell down. Her lawyer tried to say that the recordings were gotten illegally, that the stories were just guesses, that everything could be explained as a series of tragic misunderstandings. But nobody believed him. The evidence was too solid, too clear, too damning. Then they called me to the stand. I sat in that hard wooden chair, looking at the jury, a judge, the whole courtroom full of strangers who came to see this drama. Mrs. Helen, the prosecutor began. Can you tell us in your own words what you heard that day at the hospital? And I told them everything. From my panic running down that hallway to the moment Maria hid me. From every poisonous word that came out of that woman's mouth to the moment I understood my son was being slowly murdered. My voice broke several times. Tears rolled down my cheeks without stopping. But I kept talking. Because my son deserved to be heard. Because the other victims deserved justice. Because no other mother should go through this hell. And how did you feel when you heard your son was being poisoned? The prosecutor asked. I looked directly at Lisa when I answered. I felt like the world was ending. But I also felt rage. A rage I didn't know lived inside me. Rage that someone could be so wicked, so calculating, so cold. Rage for trusting her. For welcoming her into my family. For believing she loved my son when the whole time she only saw numbers, dollars, property, power. Is there anything else you want to say? The prosecutor asked. Yes, I said firmly. I want the jury to know that this woman is not the victim of a misunderstanding. She's a professional hunter of people. She's deliberately destroyed lives. And if you don't stop her here, she'll continue to do it. The next victim could be someone else. Another mother's son. And maybe that mother won't be as lucky as I was. Maybe nobody will notice the signs in time. Please don't give her that chance. The defense lawyer tried to make me look bad in the cross-examination. He suggested I was jealous of my son's relationship, that I made everything up because I was angry, that the recordings could have been changed or edited. But every question he asked, I answered with calm and truth. Then they called Danny. Seeing him walk toward that stand, strong and alive when he should have been dead, was one of the most powerful moments of my life. He told his story about the years of marriage, about how she had slowly separated him from me, about the symptoms he ignored, thinking they were from working too hard, about the coffee she lovingly made for him every morning, about how he felt worse and worse. But she convinced him he just needed rest, that the doctors were making too big a deal about it, that everything would be fine. Did you love her? The prosecutor asked. I loved the person I thought she was, Danny replied firmly. But that person never existed. It was a mask. Character designed to trick me, to steal from me, to kill me. And now, do you feel anything for her now? Danny looked directly at her for the first time since the trial started. Pity, he finally said. Pity that someone can live like that. Without real love. Without genuine connections. Just calculating. Always calculating. What an empty life that must be. I saw something flash in Lisa's eyes. For the first time since everything started, I saw her really affected. Not by guilt, but by the contempt in Danny's voice. The contempt of someone who no longer feared her. The jury discussions lasted less than 4 hours. When they came back, the judge asked, "Has the jury reached a verdict?" "Yes, Your Honor," the foreman replied. "On the charge of attempted murder in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. On the charge of aggravated fraud, guilty. On the charge of falsification of documents, guilty. On all charges presented, we find her guilty. The gavel fell. The sound echoed in that courtroom like thunder. Lisa didn't cry. She didn't beg. She just sat there stiff as the officers came near. The sentence was 35 years in prison with no chance of getting out before serving 22. 35 years. Enough time for all her beauty to fade away. Enough time for her to pay for every life she destroyed. As they were taking her out of the room, she stopped next to our table. She looked at Danny and me with those blue eyes full of poison. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I'll find a way out. And when I do, you won't." "You won't," Danny interrupted her with complete calm. "And even if you did, I don't care anymore. You have no power over me. You're just another criminal on her way to prison. Nothing special. Nothing memorable. Nothing." It was the final blow. Watching her ego crumble. Watching the reality of her situation finally hit her. They took her out then. It was the last time we saw her. Outside the courthouse, a group of reporters was waiting for us. Danny had decided to speak publicly about what happened. He wanted to warn others. He wanted his story to help people. "My name is Danny Chen," he began in front of the cameras. "And I almost died at the hands of the woman I married. But I'm here today thanks to 3 incredible people. Maria Lopez, a nurse who trusted her gut feeling. Dr. Patterson, who took her concerns seriously. And my mother Helen, who never gave up on me. Even though I pushed her out of my life." He searched for me in the crowd. Reached out his hand. I walked over. Took it. "Mom, forgive me for the lost years. For the ignored calls. For the forgotten birthdays. For making you feel like you weren't important. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you." "You already did," I said. Tears in my eyes. "You survived. That's all I needed." For months later we sold the lake house. That house I bought with so much love now only held bitter memories. With that money, Danny bought a new apartment. Smaller but full of light. And with the rest, we did something I never imagined. We created a foundation. It's called Vigilant Hearts. It's dedicated to helping families who've been victims of fraud or abuse. We provide free legal help, mental health support, temporary shelter if needed. Maria is part of the team. She helps identify signs of poisoning or abuse in medical settings. She trains other nurses to trust their gut feelings. In the first year we helped 23 families. 23 stories that could have ended in tragedy, but found help in time. And I, Helen, the old woman they thought was invisible, became the voice of those who couldn't speak. I give talks in hospitals, in community centers, anywhere that invites me. I tell my story without shame, because the shame isn't mine. It belongs to the hunters who hide behind charming smiles. Today, as I write these lines from my new apartment with a park view, one I bought for myself with my own recovered savings, I feel something I hadn't felt in years. My son comes over for dinner every Sunday. We cook together. We laugh together. We plan the future together. We made up for lost time. Not by living in the past, but by building something new. And when I look back at that horrible night in the hospital, at that moment when I heard murder plans whispered in a hallway, I no longer feel just pain. Feel gratitude. Because that night I discovered something about myself I didn't know existed. I discovered that I'm stronger than I thought. Braver than I imagined. More powerful than anyone, including myself, had ever believed. I'm Helen. I'm 68 years old. And finally, after a lifetime of giving, I learned to fight. And I won. But the story doesn't end there. 6 months after the trial, something unexpected happened. I received a letter. It came from a woman named Susan Park. She had seen Danny's interview on the news. She had heard our story. And she had her own story to tell. She was victim number 3. The third man Lisa Wu had married and destroyed. Or tried to destroy. Susan was his sister. She wrote that her brother James had lost everything to Lisa. His house, his business, his savings, his dignity. He tried to fight back, tried to report her. But she disappeared before the police could do anything. The stress of it all, the shame, the financial ruin, it broke him. He fell into depression, started drinking, lost his job. For 3 years, Susan watched her brother destroy himself. All because of what that woman did to him. But then he saw the news. He saw Danny alive and strong. He saw me telling our story. He saw Lisa being sentenced to 35 years in prison. And something in him changed. My brother stopped drinking that day, Susan wrote. He said seeing your son survive gave him hope. Seeing that woman finally caught gave him closure. Seeing you fight for your son reminded him that he still has family who fights for him too. He's in therapy now. He got a new job. He's rebuilding his life. And it's all because you didn't stay silent. 'Cause you fought. Because you won. I cried when I read that letter. Because I realized then that our story was bigger than just us. It was bigger than Danny and me. It was about every victim of people like Lisa. Every family destroyed by predators in disguise. Every mother who fights for her child. Every person who refuses to be defeated. I wrote back to Susan. I invited her and James to visit our foundation. To share their story. To help others. They came 2 weeks later. James was a thin man in his 50s. With tired eyes but a firm handshake. He looked at Danny with something like wonder. You're alive, he said simply. You made it. Danny nodded. I am. Because of my mom. Because of good people who saw the signs. Because we didn't give up. James turned to me then. His eyes filled with tears. Thank you, he said. His voice breaking. Thank you for fighting. For speaking up. For making sure she couldn't do this to anyone else. You saved more than just your son. You saved all the future victims she would have had. We stood there, the 4 of us in the foundation office. 4 people connected by one terrible woman. But also connected by survival. By hope. By the refusal to let evil win. James started volunteering at Vigilant Hearts the next month. He helps counsel other men who've been victims of romantic fraud. He tells his story. Shares his pain. Offers his hope. Susan helps too. She runs our hotline. Answers calls from desperate family members who suspect something is wrong but don't know what to do. She guides them. Supports them. Believes them. Because she knows what it's like to watch someone you love being destroyed and feel powerless to stop it. 1 year after the trial, we held our first annual fundraiser for Vigilant Hearts. Over 200 people came. Survivors. Families. Supporters. People who believed in what we were doing. Maria was there, of course. She gave a speech about trusting your instincts as a medical professional. About not dismissing that little voice that says something is wrong. Dr. Patterson spoke about the importance of listening to nurses. Of taking concerns seriously even when they seem far-fetched. Detective Sarah talked about how many cases of poisoning go undetected. How many deaths are ruled as natural when they're actually murder. How we all need to be vigilant. But the most powerful moment came when Danny spoke. He stood at the podium, strong and healthy, and told the whole room his story. He didn't hold back. He didn't sugarcoat it. He told them about the coffee. Poison. The woman he loved who tried to kill him. The mother he pushed away who saved him. I was stupid, he said. I was blind. I let someone poison not just my body but my mind. She poisoned my relationship with my mother. She poisoned my perception of reality. She poisoned everything. And I let her. 'Cause I trusted. 'Cause I loved. Because I believed. He paused. Looked directly at me in the audience. But my mother never stopped loving me. Even when I was cruel to her. Even when I forgot her birthday. Even when I made her feel unwanted. She never gave up. And when the moment came when it mattered most, she was there. She saved my life. And now we're here, trying to save others. The room erupted in applause. People stood up. Some were crying. Some were cheering. And I sat there, tears streaming down my face, feeling proud. So incredibly proud of the man my son had become. Not despite what happened, but because of it. He had taken the worst thing that ever happened to him and turned it into purpose. 2 years after the trial, I received another letter. This one was from prison. From Lisa. My first instinct was to throw it away. To burn it. But curiosity got the better of me. Opened it. The letter was short. Written in neat handwriting on lined paper. Helen, it began. Not Mrs. Chen. Not even a proper greeting. Just my name. I've had a lot of time to think in here. 2 years of thinking. Of sitting in a cell. Of realizing what I did. What I lost. I'm not going to say I'm sorry. 'Cause sorry doesn't fix anything. Sorry doesn't give Danny back the months of his life I stole. Doesn't give you back the peace of mind I destroyed. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know something. You won. Not just in court. You won in every way that matters. You kept your son. You kept your relationship. You built something good from something terrible. Have nothing. Am nothing. And I will die in here with nothing. You were right that day in court. I'm just another criminal. Nothing special. Nothing memorable. Nothing. The letter ended there. No signature. Nothing. I read it 3 times. Looking for manipulation. For a hidden agenda. For some trick. But I found none. It was just the words of a broken woman who finally understood she lost. I showed the letter to Danny. He read it in silence. Then folded it carefully. What are you thinking? Asked. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I'm thinking that she's right. She's nothing. And I'm thinking that I don't hate her anymore. I don't feel anything for her. She's just a person who did terrible things and is paying the price. That's all. Are you at peace with it? Asked. I'm at peace with us, he said, putting his arm around my shoulders. With you and me. With what we built. With who we are now. She doesn't get any more of my energy. Any more of my thoughts. She's done taking from me. And that was it. The final chapter. The final closure. We never responded to the letter. We never thought about her again. 'Cause Danny was right. She didn't deserve any more of our energy. 3 years after the trial, Vigilant Hearts had helped over 100 families. 100 stories of survival. Of fights won. Of justice served. We expanded to 3 cities. We trained over 50 medical professionals to spot the signs of poisoning. We worked with law enforcement to create better protocols for investigating suspected cases. And we saved lives. Real actual lives. Lives that would have been lost if we had stayed silent. If we had accepted what happened as just a private tragedy. If we had let shame or fear keep us quiet. But we didn't. We spoke up. We fought back. We won. And we kept winning. I'm 71 now. Danny is 47. We still have Sunday dinners every single week without fail. We still run Vigilant Hearts together. We still tell our story to anyone who will listen. 'Cause our story is not just about us. It's about every person who has ever been betrayed. Every family that has ever been torn apart by lies. Every mother who has ever fought for her child. It's about the power of love. The strength of truth. The victory of good over evil. I'm Helen. And this is my story. The story of how I almost lost my son. But instead I found my strength. My voice. My purpose. And in the end, I didn't just save him. I saved myself too.